Okay, this week I'm actually going to do the usual review of programs I finish and everything. So I actually finished up like a Beast 2 last week, and so I'm now kind of getting into like a week later because I finished it up on like a Wednesday, and so I wanted to do like a test of like the big three lists and everything before like I actually went through it, and so that way I can kind of like explain like okay the progress I made and everything. So Beast 2 is a 3 month long program. It's a push pull leg split and everything. So that is one of, if not the most popular split. Now, like the push pull leg split, I have done like a video on it, but to quickly go over it, you're doing push exercises. So you're basically doing like a bench press to get like your chest. You're doing the vertical press with the overhand. You're also getting like your triceps and like your side delts as well. That's pretty much like your push workouts. Your pull workouts are like your back muscles, your biceps, and you're also doing like a deadlifts on like your pull days. And then of course like leg day, you're pretty much doing like a leg, so like quads, hamstrings, calves, and stuff like that. So now for the most part, like what this program would do is like with legs is kind of split it up in like a one leg day you would have more of like a focus on quads, and then the second day you would have more of a focus on like hamstrings, and like whatever you didn't focus on, you do like a touch up on the other. For instance, like if you're doing a focus on quads, what you do is you kind of do like a touch up for like your hamstrings and everything, so you're still kind of getting that extra work in. And so now instead of doing like push pull legs, what way it's set up is like pull push then legs, and so that way you're doing like kind of splitting up like deadlifts and squats and everything. So it's an actual 4 day cycle and everything. So you do pull, push, legs, and then you get recovery day, and then you do pull, push, legs, recovery day. So it's a 4 day cycle instead of like your typical like 3 days. So you do 3 days on like pull, push, legs, and then you do like another 3 set like of pull push legs. So you could theoretically do it like Sunday through Friday and get Saturday off, or take Sunday off and do like Monday through Saturday with the traditional like 6 day split or whatever with like push pull legs. So getting that extra day to kind of do recovery, like and of course me, I'm big on like active recovery, so getting out for like doing walks and everything, so you're still staying active and still like burning some extra calories and everything. So but that's just kind of like the way I approach it. So now, like I said, this is a 3 month program based on like a pull push legs split. And now, so for month one, you have like three exercises. So, like what you're doing is you're first doing like a 3 by 5, and then you like for a first set, and then like you're doing also like 4 to 6 and everything. So like for instance, like you're doing like a three total sets and like a three sets. So like first set is like 5 reps, and then like the second one is like, and third one is 4 to 6 reps for, and those were for 3 exercises. Then it's kind of like a same kind of concept with 3 more exercises. You do uh, 3 sets. Like first one is for like 5 reps, and then like you do like in a sense like a 50% drop and everything. So like you want to make sure you're going heavy and everything, so that way you're failing on rep 5 reps on the first set, and then like you're dropping it by 50%, and then you're looking to have that form failure between 6 and 10 reps on the second set after you drop the weight by like 50%. So for instance, like you say you do a deadlift at like 400 pounds, so you want to do like 5 reps and then drop it by like 50% at 200, do 6 to 10 reps, fail in that range at like 200 pounds, and then like you drop it again to 100. And same kind of concept for like the last one, 6 to 10. So that's kind of like the concept of dropping the weight like 50%, like from first to second set to third set. And you got like a fierce finisher, which is kind of like an AMRAP. So you have like a certain amount of time, and you're supposed to do as many reps as possible as like kind of like a fierce finisher. And so like and always like you have like scheduled in at the end of the workout a corrective exercise, whether it's like the actual face pull, like you're doing like the face pulls, or you're doing like banded trap raises and you step back, or like you're doing like a kind of like a so like a banded like side lateral like whatever. So that name escapes me, but you're doing like 2 to 3 sets of a corrective exercise at the end of every workout, and so that's kind of like the overarching like concept of like month one with using the pull push legs recovery day, pull push legs recovery day on a 4-day cycle. In month two, like you're switching things up a little. You're still following the pull push legs split. You're doing that for the whole 3 months, but what you're doing is now you're doing a heavy day and a light day. So for instance, like with pull days, what you're going to do is like you're going to go heavy like you would if you're, in a sense, powerlifting or whatever. The light day, what you're doing is like, in a sense, uh like a lightweight high reps type of deal. So like you're doing with heavy days low reps but high weight, but then the second day you're coming back and doing like high reps low weight. So like instead of doing heavy weight both days like and low reps, you're doing heavy weight low reps low weight high reps and everything. So you kind of balancing out that like of that light and heavy, and you're doing that for both like the push for all the pull push and leg workouts. So then the seventh exercise, what you do is like kind of like, in a sense, like a warm up or whatever. You see, like you do that one exercise, for instance, like for instance, you do bicep curls, and then what you do is you go into like a superset, like you do maybe like the bicep curls, and then you do like bicep no money curls for like a superset for like the eighth exercise, and then for like your ninth exercise, you'd be like the no money bicep curls. So the way it's set up is seventh exercise is doing normal bicep curls, and then like the superset you're doing no money bicep curls, and then the regular bicep curls, and then the ninth one you're doing like the no money bicep curls. So it's kind of like exercise superset, second exercise that you're doing the superset with. And of course, like you got the 10th, 11th, and 12th exercise. What you're doing is you're basically doing just one set for each of those exercises, but you're shooting to do 8 to 10 reps in that range and everything. And of course, you still have that corrective at the end of the workout and everything. And so it still, like I said, follows the pull push legs recovery, so like the 4-day cycle. And then that pretty much brings you into like the third and final month. So like what you're doing then, like for your first exercises, like you're doing like in a sense a warm up, a series of warm up sets, and then you get into like your actual like working sets or whatever. So for instance, like for using deadlift as an example, you're like you'd have 4 like, in a sense, warm up sets. The first one would be like just the bar. Then the second set would be at like 50% of your 1 rep max. The third set would be 75% of your 1 rep max, and then your fourth and final warm up set would be at 90% of your 1 rep max. Now your reps are going to start at like for the bar and 50%, you're doing 12 reps. So like you're doing basically the bar for 12 reps. You're doing 50% of your 1 rep max for 12 reps. You're doing 75% of your 1 RM. Run 1 rep max at 75% for six reps, and then at the last one where you're doing 90% of your 1 rep max, you just do like a one rep. So then you get into like 3 sets of, like, in a sense, your working sets for the deadlift. And then what you're doing is you're doing five reps at 82.5%. Then you do, for your second set, you do like a two reps at like see if I can actually pull it up and everything. So like yeah, first set 5 reps at 82.5%. Second set you do 3 reps at 85%. Third set you do 2 reps at 87.5%. So like I use the deadlift as an example. So like you basically have 7 total sets that you're doing, 4 warm up and 3 starting sets. Now as it progresses, you'll see like the percentages will go up and everything. So that's like your that's pretty much your warm up and second exercise. So then you get into like your third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, eighth exercises. you're doing what's known as kind of like effective reps. So what you're doing is you're going to do like an ignition set. So each one is set up where you maybe do either like you take like maybe your 12 rep max, your 10 rep max, or maybe your 5 rep max, and you do like an ignition set. And so like you pick a weight that like for instance like using bicep curls as an example, what you would do is like take maybe like your 12 rep max set. You know that like I can do 12 reps at say 50, like I do 12 bicep curls at 50 pounds. So what you do is you do an ignition set with that, you put them down, you get a 15-second rest period, and then you go into the actual effective reps, and then you grind out 20 reps with that. And so like if you're doing like a 12 rep, and then of course either 12 or 15, and then you down it to maybe like an 8 or 10 rep max, and you're down it to like, instead of doing 20 reps with the 8 to 10 rep ignition set, you're doing 15 instead. And then like if you're doing like a 5 rep ignition set, what you're doing is 10 effective reps. So like I said, what you want to do is like take the ignition set. It's either like a 12 to 15, like a 8 to 10, or 5, and then it's like a 20, 15, and 10 respectively for your effective reps. And so that's what you're doing for those exercises. And then of course like you have like for instance like what's known as a Hell in 100 exercise kind of as the finisher for that particular workout. So like for instance doing the pull-up exercises that I was mentioning, like the Hell in 100, what you do is you take like dumbbells like half like your body weight and dumbbell weights in each hand. So like someone like me who's about 170 pounds, you would take like half of that and like kind of like round it up. So like the way I did it was like 80 pounds was like 75 pound dumbbells was the highest I could go to with the Planet Fitness that I go to. So I had to do 75 pounds in each hand, and then I would have to do 100 steps for farmer's carries with each foot. So technically I would have to do 200 steps with farmer's carries with 75-pound dumbbells in each hand, because like now technically I was supposed to do 80s, but 75 pounds dumbbells were the highest I could get access to. So I made do with what I had. And of course, just like months 1 and 2, you do have a corrective exercise at the end of every workout and everything. And so that's pretty much like the overview of the Total Beast 2 program, which is a push-pull leg split. But the only difference is instead of doing push-pull legs, you switch the push and pull. So you're doing pull push legs, and you get that extra day in between like the 3 days, 3 lifting days, to kind of help give yourself that extra recovery time. And like of course, like I stated earlier, I'm big on like, hey, look, let's do active recovery, like to make sure we're staying up on our feet, because like at least in my experiences, being active, like getting out for walks using the 10,000 step concept definitely helps increase recovery. And that's what I've noticed for me by staying active instead of like sitting on my ass being like, oh well, it's a day off so I'm not going to do anything. I've noticed with me that I tend to recover quicker if I'm active, even if it is just doing that like a good old 10,000 steps. So that's pretty much kind of like what's all about the Total Beast 2 program, which is pull, push, legs, recovery. So 4-day cycle. Now I did do, like I said, the test of the big 3, and earlier in the year before I started the Total Beast program, I broke it. I noticed I kind of broke it up and like tested like both all the deadlift, bench press, and squats separately. And so this time around, I was able to like test all of them together. And so like the way I went about it is my warm-up sets, like for each exercise I would use like a 1-minute rest time in between, and then like as I got up to the point where I was starting to do singles to test my 1 rep max and everything, I was doing 2-minute rests. And now of course most people you'll come across will say you want that 2 to 5 minute rest time when you're testing your pure strength like that and everything, to give your body that much more time to recover. So even with like the just the 2-minute rest time, I kept my bench press and squats the same. So bench press I got up to 190 pounds, And when I tried to 195, I got down and I just barely got it up, and I failed. So I quit. So I was using the Smith machine, so I was able to hook it. So I pretty much failed like 195. So I kept it the same. But like I said, I was using bare minimum rest time for my singles and stuff. For squat, I stayed the same at 385, and of course I did deadlift first, then bench press, and I did squats last. And so like I did 385, and I felt like I could have pushed it, but I'm like, okay, well, I'm happy with staying the same, so I'm not necessarily going to like risk injury to just try to maybe get like an extra 10-15 pounds and everything. So I'll stay where I'm at, and even though I felt like I could have pushed myself probably like an extra 15-20 pounds or so, my deadlift, I was able to increase 20 pounds to 325, so I did make progress. But the biggest difference, even only making like in a sense a 20-pound increase in 3 months, I say my muscular stamina definitely increased because I was only using the 2-minute rest time, and afterwards I felt like I could have gotten maybe some extra cardio or done something extra after testing those big three and everything. So like I wasn't necessarily as gassed, or at least I didn't feel as gassed at the end of testing those three and everything. So that was like kind of like I'll take it for what it is. Like, yes, I kept the bench press and squats the same, even with like I felt like I could have pushed squats. Did get an extra 20 pounds on my deadlift, and I didn't feel necessarily as gassed as before and everything. So overall, for me, I felt like the program was definitely like a winning situation for me. So it's now I would say like for beginners, you might want to go and try out like AX1, AX2 programs first to get some experience in your belt, under your belt and everything first before you try this. That's if you're a beginner. So if you're an intermediate to advanced, like then, and you're looking to push yourself, then yes, definitely get into this as well to start off and everything.